All right, in the last class, we pretty much finished the To-Do app. The only thing that we had done is I very quickly went over with you the code on the second view controller that did the add item. All right. Remember, To-Do List is the name of our array. So here we're saying append whatever we just entered in. And again, we need to forcibly do the wrapping because it may be empty. All right. Then we're taking that item and we're just blanking it out so we can add another one if we want to. Then we're adding the thing to NS user defaults also. All right. So again, I've already got this up and running, but you'll notice it's here someplace. Come on. And literally, when I tested it, I just put in two items. I put in hello, and I put in goodbye. Then I went back and I swiped over. I don't remember which one. All right, so whatever one I didn't swipe over should be on here right now. So goodbye is on here. If I go back, in fact, it runs a little easier to look at if I put it into landscape. So there's goodbye. I go over to my second one. I come in here. I want to add a new to-do list item. Oops. I'll do this for John. All right, so I'm adding a new item. I click off. I can click add item. It's gone. So it's there waiting for me to add another item. If I'm so inclined, I can bring it back up here, you know. All right. Now when I go back to the first one, I don't know why that one. Maybe I didn't click to add the item. I don't remember.
Yeah, you didn't.
I didn't? Okay. Then let's go back. Add item. There it is. Now it should be there. When we go back to the first one. All right. Goodbye was what was there last time. Oops. I'm not a good swiper. I'm just telling you that right now. But when I swipe, it'll go away. And you'll notice that if I totally cut down the simulator, so if I quit it and then start it up again, what will be there will be those three things. All right, so it is a to-do list. Next week, we're going to, just so you know, we're going to look at some examples of core data and databases. A to-do list isn't really a good example to be using with a database. Just so you know, we could probably do it. But I was thinking about it yesterday, and I think it'd be better to just create a simple little app that where we have something like where we're able to add people's names and addresses to a database, and then we can go in and search for them. I think that makes more sense.
Are you talking about actually setting up a database and then incorporate?
Yes.
Yeah, I like that idea.
Yeah. So again, bringing it back up, there's the stuff. Goodbye. All right. There's my swipe. There's my delete. Boom. That one's gone. All right. Everybody cool with that? Hopefully everybody, because I gave you the code anyway. All right. So if you had any problems, you should be able to go back and take a look at. Mine did run. I don't know why it didn't run the other day, but that's the same one. And it ran just fine when I brought it up before. So. All right. So what I'm going to do then is do a file. And I'm going to save and do a file. And close the project. And I'm going to start a new thing. I've got a lot of junk in here, so just if you don't mind for just a second, let me clean some of this up. I do have a miscellaneous folder. I'm just going to drag a bunch of stuff into there. An older version exists. Yeah, replace. I don't care. I also took the time, because I'd forgotten to do this, so I took the time and went out there, and Blackboard should be up to date now. And I got to check and see if I put it also out on the P drive, but if I didn't, I'll have to do that before the end of the day today. All right, so now I just got my book, the playgrounds, the book samples, and miscellaneous. So I'm going to come in here, and right now I'm going to create a new project. All right. It'll be single view, and I will call it just BMI JPS. All right. Save it onto the desktop. You've seen all this stuff before, so I don't think there's a lot that we have to go through as far as this stuff goes. Again, when the view controller comes, when my screen comes up here, my main storyboard, I'm going to click on the view controller right here, and I'm going to change the size, just knock it down to a 3.5 inch there. All right. Now I'm going to start building it. Okay. So again, this is the way I did it. You don't necessarily have to do it this way. All right. But I'm going to come in here, and as we did in the last example, I'm going to type in here navigation bar, and I'm going to put a nav bar up at the top. Okay, double click on it and call this BMI Calculator app. All right, so that's first thing. Just put in that nav bar. Then I did this one a little bit different than I did the one in Android. So I put in a label here. Put it over here. In fact, I moved it over here. Double-clicked on it and typed in height, colon, put in another one. Do you all know this? I mean, if you look up on the screen here, I could create another one, or I can just do Command-C, Command-V, and make a copy. Hopefully you knew that. Just like you do it in Windows, you can do it the same way if you want to. So there's my height. I'll change this one, the wordage on this in just a second, and make that weight. All right, now I'm going to come in and I'm going to add my text fields. So I'll add the first one right here. Now I'm going to literally drag it all the way over to the right here. And again, I'm just going to take it and copy it and paste it. Copy and paste. There we go. So there's my second one. Just like we did before, I'm going to have two buttons in here. So the first one is just going to say clear. Drag that out so it's a little bit bigger. And the second one is going to be my calculate button. All right, and then finally, down on the very bottom, And again, you could do this in different ways. I decided to just use a text view down here. Yeah. As soon as that stops spinning, it'll there we go. And I literally just dragged it. Probably didn't need this much room, but I just did it like, whoop, not like that. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. Well, that's the interface. I looked at this, and there's way too much junk in there. Now, you may or may not know this, but as soon as I do this, I'm going to remove all this, and I'm just going to type in answer goes here and hit enter. Okay? And notice I can still see everything, a little different than the way it is in Android, and I'm going to center it. Okay? Is there any question? Can everybody here build that interface without any kind of problem? All right. And then I'm going to put in my constraints second. So the nav bar here, my BMI calculator app, this thing, I want to pin that all 4 places. So I want to grab here and I want to pin top, I want to pin bottom, I want to pin right, and I want to pin left. All right. And I'm going to add the 4 constraints. Then for my height here, that label that just says the word height, I'm going to pin that to the top so it's pinned up to the nav bar, and I'm going to pin it to the left, and I don't want to change the height, and I don't want to change the width. So I'm going to add those 4 constraints. Then I'm going to do the same thing that I just did with the height label. I'm going to do it with the width label. So again, top, left, width, height, add those 4 constraints. All right. Then over here, this one, okay, I want to grab this and I want to pin this to the top. I want to pin it to the left. I want to pin it to the right, and that's good. And I want to do the same thing here. So again, I want to grab it and I want to pin it to the top, to the left, and to the right. All right. The buttons, I don't really want them to move much, period, so I'm going to click here, and I'm going to grab this one, the first button here, and I'm going to, again, pin it to the top, and I'm going to pin it to the left, and I don't want to change the width, and I don't want to change the height. So I'll add those 4 constraints, and I'll do the same thing for this, okay? So I'll grab this, and I'll pin it to the top and to the left, and I won't change the width, I won't change the height, and I'll add those 4 constraints. All right? So I've now got everything done except this thing right here. And this, I can just pin to all 4 corners. Now, you may or may not have noticed that when I did this, I don't have any errors, but I have some warnings. Again, if you look up here, it's showing me that there's some possible contradictions right here. Well, I just want to get rid of that. So the fastest way to do that is to just click on a blank spot on the screen or click where it says View Controller so the whole thing's highlighted. Come over to the last one and tell it for all views, just say Update Frames. Now everything is okay. It may have pushed a thing or two over just a little bit, but now my interface is fine. All right, everybody cool with what I've done so far? There's no code in there yet. All right, but I can save it and run it now if I want to. It's just that nothing's going to happen when I do this stuff. All right. Now, hopefully in your mind, you're already thinking, okay, let's see. This is going to have to be an IB outlet. This is going to have to be an IB outlet. This is going to have to be an IB outlet, an IB action, and an IB action. This is just static text, and so is this. We're not doing anything with our nav bar, so we don't have to create any code for it. These are just static text, so we don't have to create any code for it. But again, IB outlet, IB outlet, IB outlet, IB action, IB action. Does all that make sense? So I'm going to do those right now. And again, what you call these are pretty much up to you. I don't need this open anymore, and I don't need this open anymore either, so I'm going to close this. In fact, I'll just close this one here. And I don't need my object library open.
Now I'm going to grab this and just see if I can pull it over a little bit. Well, I'll bring up the assistant editor, and now I'll move this over. All right?
So hopefully your screen looks something like that. This is when I'm going and creating my outlets and my action. This is what I like to do. Because like this, now I can either drag from anywhere in here if I want to, or I can drag from anywhere in here over. All right, so if I have any problems. All right, so I'm going to add those 3 outlets and those 2 actions right now. So first I'm going to go here. In fact, I'll hit enter a couple times here so I have some room. Now I'm going to come from here, control, click, drag. You know the way we do it by now. And I just call this, as I did in the Android, I call this height text. You can call it whatever you want, but if you call it something other than height text, as I put in my code, then you're going to have to change yours accordingly. All right, so there's height text. That's the first one. Then the next one, I'm going to do the same thing. And as you may or may not have guessed already, that will be weight text. And connect. All right, then over here, and I just call this one answer text. I believe that's what I called it. I know it's height text and weight text. No, I called it answer label because it's we're not typing anything into it. It's something that's going to be created for us. But again, you could call it whatever you wanted to. So I now have these 3 things added right here. Okay? So I've set everything up here, and I've added my 3 different outlets. So now I've got to add the 2 actions, and I'm literally going to just call these clear and calculate. You could call them something different if you wanted to. But I know I call one clear, and I think I call the other one calculate. Oh, I called it calculate BMI. And the other one I did call clear. All right. So, again, going on, I'm going to click on my button, control, hold down on the pad, and drag down to here. And I want to make sure I change this from an outlet to an action and call it clear. So there's the first one. All right, then I got to go for my second one here again. Control, hold down, drag, and I call this calculate BMI. And made it an action. Any questions on anything we've done so far? Hopefully that's pretty basic for you. All right, in much the same way. Hopefully what I'm about to show you is pretty basic, but what I did at the top of my program here is I defined some constants. This one I did use the constants for. So I defined program constants at the top. It doesn't matter if you define your variables and constants before you put in your IB outlets or after. But again, the way you do it, you should be consistent. So in other words, you shouldn't have a variable, then an outlet, then a variable, then an action, etc. You shouldn't go mixing. It just makes it harder to understand what's going on. And I actually had 2, 4, 6, 8 of these. And I used let. Remember, we don't have to make them capitalized anymore. Let min height equal 12.0. Max height, I set it equal to 90.0. So again, I'm saying that 1 foot is the smallest size for someone, and 90 inches, which is 7.5 feet, is the tallest for someone. All right? Then I did the same thing with my weights. And I set the min weight equal to a pound. And I set the max weight equal to 777 pounds. Again, you can change that if you want to. Now, remember last hour we were talking and Mike Rates asked about taking that button and disabling it? What I decided to do was to check, and if you didn't enter anything, Okay? If you didn't enter anything, I was going to give you a default weight and height. That's just the way that I did it. You don't have to do it that way, but that's what I did. So I set up two more constants that I called default height and default weight. And I made the default height 72. And the default weight I made 100, and actually made it 72.0. And the default weight I made 166.0. Again, there's no significance to that. Those are just numbers I picked. Then I've got overweight, and I set that equal to 25.0. And I had underweight, and I set that equal to 18.5. Here now they line up like little soldiers, as they say. So those are my constants. Any questions on any of the constants? All right, then I created my variables. I had 5 variables. Okay? Somebody tell me quick, what are 3 of the variables? Height, weight, BMI. And the 4th one was the status, which is again going to be overweight, underweight, or average weight. And then I created another one, I just called it output. It was like result from the last one, where I just combined everything together. All right, so here I said define program variables, var height equals 0.0, var weight equals 0.0, var BMI equals 0.0, var BMI status equals the empty string, and var, again, we could have called it anything we wanted to, I just happen to call it output, equals, again, the empty string. And again, if you don't like anything I've used for variable names, then change them. But if you change them, as we start putting code in, you're going to have to change them in your code also. So literally what I typed in was about 3 pages and a little bit on the back. We just typed in, what we just put in there now was the whole first page. There's only one more thing that I want to add, and that's at the top here, because we want this, that when we click off, we want it to go away. So I'm going to add here a UI text view delegate. Okay, so I just added this right here that you kind of see in blue. So I added up here, I added the comma and UI text view delegate. All right. Now I'm not trying to go fast, I'm not trying to go slow, but even if you're not the best typer in the world or typist in the world, you should have been able to type all of that stuff in. All right, so what I'm going to do is this stuff right here, from here on, is going to just disappear in a second, and I'll go from right here and I'm going to start writing code. All right. Much of the code that we write, I'm not going to say that it's going to be simplistic, but it should be something that virtually everybody understands. What I like about the way that they've got this set up is now I can look at this, and when I click my clear button, I can just tell from having the GUI over here exactly what I want to do. So I want to blank this out, I want to blank this out, I want to blank this out. And as long as I've got my variables, I might as well set those back to the default values also, just to be safe. Okay, it should work fine if I don't. So I'm going to clear, 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 3, clear, 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 clear. Okay, so I'll have 8 lines right there. That's going to clear everything. That's what a clear, at least in my opinion, what a clear should be doing.
So I'm going to say height text dot text equals double quote, weight text dot text equals double quote, answer label dot text equals double quote. That'll clear out that. So that's the three that I wanted to clear. All right. Height equals 0.0. Weight equals 0.0. BMI, whoops, I don't know how that happened, but it did. BMI equals 0.0. BMI status equals the empty string. All right. And it should be a big S. I apologize. And then finally, output equals the empty string. All right. Now I want to stop for a minute because I want you to hopefully understand something. If for some reason, if for some reason I set these up and I didn't give them initial values, you with me? So if all I said was var, remember if I just say var height, I have to let the system know what kind of variable it is. So I have to say var height : double or something like that. But let's just say I did that for whatever reason. Let's just say I did it. And I didn't initialize any of those. Then right here, if I wanted to, I could call clear, correct? I could just call clear and then it would set all of them. So I could do that if I wanted to. All right? Any questions on anything in the clear routine? No? Okay. So let's go down to the calculate BMI, and of course that's where I put all my clear stuff, isn't it? Isn't that nice? Should have went in there. There we go. All right, not too big a thing. And I tried to be modular with this, so I literally wrote four different routines. Validate height, validate weight. I guess there are 5. Calculate BMI, calculate BMI status, and display all values. You already know this, but I'll say it again anyway. I'm getting those error messages because I have not yet written those routines, right? So if I moused over any of these, that's what it would tell me. We're going to write the routines right here. So I'm going to write 5 routines. After we write those 5 routines, there's 2 more things we have to do. We have to register our delegate, the view controller, as being our delegate. Then we have to change that touches began thing. So we have to do that and set that. That's it. So it's 25 to 4. I hope we can be done with this close to 4. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to write, I'm going to write the validate height because that's the first one listed here. All right. So func validate height. All right. And notice as soon as I did that, hopefully you notice, now I've got 4 of these, and this turned blue, meaning that there is a function written for it. Okay? Now, does it also make sense to everybody that the validate height and the validate weight are exactly identical to one another, except I have to change all the H's in height to W's for weight? So I'm going to write it, and then I'm going to copy it and make the changes. All right? Again, this is how I wrote it. So I said, if height text dot text not equal to nil. So in other words, in English, what that says is if there's something in there. Does that make sense? All right. So that's how I'm accounting for it, because if there's nothing in there, it's not going to do anything. So if that's the case, I said height equal, and I just casted. So I said double height text dot text, and I need 2 exclamation points there. All right, I'm still in the if, but I put in another if. If height is less than the min height, or the height is greater than the max height, if either one of those are the case, then I just set height equal to the default height. Oops. All right, let me move this up a bit. So I'm saying come in here if there is something in that text box, set height to whatever that is. All right? And we probably didn't do that, but we're going to have to remember to go back and set our keyboard type. Correct? Because right now it's not going to be the right keyboard. Okay, so we'll have to remember to go back and do that. But the point is, this is saying if there's something in there, set height to it. And still, while I'm in that if, do your validation check. So if you put in a number that's less than 12 or a number that's greater than 90, then just set it to the default, which is 72. All right? Is that the best way to do it? I'm not going to say it is or is not. It is a way of doing it. All right? Because especially with the first year people, and maybe you guys did this last year, I don't know. But I've got certain people that are in the first year, they'll come up to me after class and and they'll ask me about something. Is that the best way to do it? I don't know. It's a way of doing it. And I don't know how to really answer the question. I don't feel like I'm a good enough authority that I can say something is the best or the worst. All right. So we've got the first one written. So I'm going to copy this whole routine, starting with line 62 here, and going down to line 70. I'm going to copy those 8 or 9 lines, Command C, go down another line, hit Enter, and paste it in. And now I've got to go down to this second one, and I've got to change all those H's in height to W's to make them width. Again, that's the same code as the one we previously did. Now we're down to 3 of these. These 2 routines are exactly the same, except one has H for height, one has W for width. Other than that, they're exactly the same thing. All right? So far, I will be able to put stuff in here, and once we change the keyboard type, we will make sure that it's within range. Okay? But we still have to go in and calculate the BMI, and then once we've got the BMI, we've got to calculate the status, and then once we've got that, then we've got the height, we've got the weight, we've got the BMI, and we've got the status. So we have to print them all out. All right? So next, it says here calculate BMI, so I'll write that one next. Let me move this down a little bit. So func calculate BMI. And this is a nice one because it's literally a line long. BMI equal, and again, this is how I did it, weight divided by height. Oops. And here I just did height times height. Times 703. Okay. So what doesn't it like here? Oh, I need another paren there. That should be it. Okay. Just a couple things, just so you're aware of this. First of all, probably that should be a constant. That's 703. All right. And one reason that I made underweight and overweight, one reason I made those both constants is as time goes on, watch. I don't know how many years it'll be, but you get more and more people who are built like me that have a big gut on them. All right. So what's going to happen is it's not going to be 25 and above. Somebody will change it. It'll become like 27 and a half. All right. Because it'll be that you're not overweight, you're not obese, you're large framed. All right. I love that. Did you ever see that cartoon that says, I'm not overweight, I'm under tall? All right. So now we've got 3/5 of what we need. And if I go back up here just for a second, you can see that those first 3 routines are now all in blue. Okay? So we have to calculate our BMI status, and then we have to display all of our values. Let me hit enter a few more times here. Give me a few more blank lines. All right, so the next one we're going to do is calculate our BMI status. And it's what you think it would be. If BMI is less than underweight, status equals underweight. Else, if, I don't need parens, BMI is greater than overweight, then status equals overweight. And you already know this. If it's not overweight and it's not underweight, it's got to be optimal weight. Did I not call it status? I'll have to check. Is it BMI status? I don't remember. It's BMI status. That's why I'm getting those errors. So that should be BMI status. And that should be BMI status. And that one should be BMI status. That got rid of all those. Did it get rid of our error that we had near the top here? No. So calculate BMI status. What doesn't it like here? Copy. I spelled calculate wrong.
Yeah, well,
Oh.
I was gonna say,
Now it's okay. All right. This one said calculate or something like that. So the only thing that's left is display all values. So are there any questions on the validate height, the validate width, the calculate BMI, or the calculate BMI status? Are there any questions on any of those? So we should have all the information we need now, so all we have to do is print it out. All right, which is what I'm going to do next. And that's the output. So I said at first it just is equal, same kind of way that we did it in the last class. But again, remember, we want to print out the value of a variable. So we have to do it like this, where this is one way of doing it. I think it's the best way of doing it.
And then I want to set the answer label dot text equal to the output. All right, so we still have to go back in and we have to set up our keyboard, but other than that, we're done. Hopefully, the reason that I did this is hopefully you see the logic is basically identical between the two programs. The only thing that really differs is the syntax, how you get from point A to point B. But we're doing the exact same thing both times. All right, if you look up on the screen here, I'm going to move this up a bit, but I'll keep that there. I don't need this comment in here under our view did load, but in view did load, I've got to come in here and put in self dot, oops, you have to spell it right, dot answer label dot delegate equal self. So that's the first thing. Then we have to override our touches began, and we have to put in a text view should end editing. Then we have to go back and change our keyboard type, and we should be done. All right? So the next thing I want to do is I want to come down here, and again, I want to override the func touches began. And I want to put in my code self.view.end editing true. All right. Move that down a bit, or up a bit. Now, just so you know, everybody please look up on the screen here. This last one's going to be different than the way we did it before. Because what we've done before is we've always used a text field. I used a text view because it's multi-line. All right, so the idea is going to be exactly the same. All right. In fact, I gave you a mistake earlier. Not purposely, but there's a mistake. Go back up, if you would, to the top of your program. See where it says, oh, I did, that's right, it does say text view. We have been using text field edited, a delegate, all the time. Now we're using a text view edited delegate. All right, so it is correct. But if we come down to the bottom here, now, and it's a little bit different, so I have to say func text view. Well, what we've always done in the past, all right, is I don't remember the exact verbiage we've used, but the same verbiage isn't available here. What we want is this one, should end editing. And all I have to do is return true. Okay? To my knowledge, that's all the code for the whole program. So we added our own stuff. We added the self.answerLabel.delegate equals self. We came in and we overrode the touches began and said self.view.end editing true. And we also wrote our text view should end editing, and we returned true there. So what should happen is the only thing we should have to do is to go back onto here and set the keyboard type for this and this to number. Okay? So I want to do that because otherwise I'd forget to do it. So I'm going to come there, bring up my object library, find, probably is it under the attributes inspector? No. Somewhere in there. I don't remember which one, but I'll just keep looking until I find it. Middle one?
Yeah. No, right one, that one.
And I guess I had to go drill down a little bit here, but you'll see sooner or later in there you'll see keyboard type. There it is. All right, we don't want the default, we want number pad. So that's that one. Then I want to click on this one and do the same thing and set it to number pad. I don't want to duplicate that. No. Save. Any questions on anything we just did? All right. Well, now the moment of truth, I guess. I didn't see any errors on it, and that's always a good start. but there could be something in here that's wrong. I don't think there is. I wouldn't purposely try to put something in here wrong. One thing I did not do is there's no formatting. So when the BMI comes out, it's a god-awful, ugly number. Okay? And of course, since it's been gone for a while, it always reverts back to 6 Plus. And when it reverts back to 6 to the size of an iPhone 6 Plus, it won't work for some reason. All right, so I've got to shut down the simulator, and I've got to go back, and I've got to reset the size here to 4S, and then run it again. I don't know why, but I do. Because this machine is special. The previous lecture, the Android one, is now produced and it's out there on YouTube. And this one, as soon as I get done, I will produce that. That will be out on YouTube before the end of the day.
I think if you go up to window, you can scale the size of your simulator down too.
I like that. I like that better. Thank you. See, I could be a real smart aleck, and like when I tell my wife something like that, she'll say that. That's why I keep you around. All right, so. But hopefully you were able to run yours, because yours should come up much faster than mine. And hopefully you got, you know, again, the one I always use, when I test yours, because you've done this program before, probably in multiple languages. What I do is I run three sets of test data. I put 72 and 111, because that person's definitely underweight. I put in 72 and 166, because that person's of optimal weight. And I put in 72 and 333. And after that, I go in, I put in abnormal values just to check and make sure that my tests worked. All right. So there's the interface. Click here, make sure we get our correct keyboard. We have, so height, again, 72. Click over here for weight, 166. All right. I should now be able to click off. There, the keyboard went away. Click calculate. All right. And there's a problem someplace. I think I know where it is, okay? And I don't think you did it. I think when I told you to copy that stuff, and I said make sure you change all your heights to weights, I don't think I changed one of them. Again, I'm not worried about that because look, the height worked, the weight worked, the BMI is wrong because the calculation's wrong. But the good news is, if your BMI was 4, you'd probably be dead. But if your BMI was 4, all right, you would be underweight. So everything that's in there worked. So I'll quickly go back. Before I do that, you notice it doesn't look too bad in here, so we didn't scale it badly. Let's see what it looks like. All right, and that doesn't look bad either. You could make a case and say, I wouldn't have centered that stuff. I get all that. But what you're learning in here is it's basic auto layout. I'm literally taking a course, a Udemy course right now. It's really interesting too. I just went through the first lesson a couple nights ago. And the first lesson, he does this. You probably have seen this before, but what he's done basically is he makes what looks kind of like, and I'm not doing a great job, but you get the idea, a British flag. All right. But he does it in what I consider to be a really, really interesting way. He makes his whole background red. This is all white, and this is red, the cross or whatever you call it.
Okay, so what he does is he makes everything, the whole background, he takes everything that's in there and he makes it all red. Then he goes and creates an image view here, and he makes one here, and he makes one here, and he makes one there. And he works with auto layout to make sure that they're all the same size and they're pinned the correct way, because when you get that done, the scaling is such that this will be exactly the same. And since we didn't change this he keeps white because he doesn't change the color, so the rest stays red. All right? Which is a hell of a lot easier when you think about it than trying to draw something like that yourself. All right? It's not that you couldn't do it, but it would be a lot more work. So again, I'm going to stop the simulator and take a very quick look at my calculation. Weight divided by height, that looks right to me. BMI equals weight divided by
Oh, no, wait, no.
Well, I'll tell you what. What's real nice is I've got this over here, and I've got it working. Oops.
Weight times 703 divided by.
Yeah, I think that's. But I want to use the exact formula that I used in the Android one. So I come back to that. Take a second because I closed it, but I'll grab it anyway. I'd rather do that. And I believe you, and I know you're right. Okay. Okay. There we go. All right. So change that formula. I'm just going to retype all of it. All right. 703 times weight divided by, then in parentheses, height times height. Like that. That should be the correct formula. I'll leave that up there for just a second. I'm going to save it. I'm going to run it again. I'm going to put in the same numbers. And once I do, then what should happen is it should come back and say that the BMI is about 22.1 or something like that. All right. Now, just like we talked about previously, you don't have to open this up. You don't have to do anything right here. But I'm going to take just a second, and I want to read on here. Let's see. All right, just like with the other one, you're told to create this so you can change your height to a slider. Okay, that's one thing that you have to do. So you'll get rid of this. I would recommend starting all over again. Okay, but you don't have to do that. You can still keep the code, but this will become a slider then. Okay, and it's what is value changed or whatever the heck it is for the slider. Okay, so you'll have to set that up, but the logic will remain the same in here. All right. We try to run it one more time in the simulator.
I wish you'd have told me that a long time ago. I wish I'd have just checked and found it out myself, to be honest with you. So what Tuesday of next week, all right, Tuesday in Android and in this class will be labs for the entire period. Thursday, I'm going to do this same thing, but I'm going to build the currency converter in both languages. All right? So it's getting ready here. There we go. So again, height 72, weight 166, click off, let's calculate, optimal weight 22.5, that is correct. Again, I'd have to do some work as far as putting it to a couple decimal places. It's fine, okay? A couple things I should check, clear, yeah, it works. I don't know, I can't really tell if that was there or not, but, oh, did we do that for the clear routine? What did I leave off of here? I didn't make that the first responder. So in other words, I want to go back into my clear routine, and at the bottom, I want to say height text, all right, dot become first responder, which will mean that once I click clear, that field should be highlighted. Okay? So what is it? Height text dot become first responder. Okay, so there it is. And again, hopefully you're starting to get to the point, because yeah, you might not have a lot of Android or a lot of Swift experience under your belt, but you've got a fair share of programming experience under your belt. And you have to be in where you start to think, okay, what can I keep doing to make this easier? And if you think, why, who cares whether or not it's easier? Go out to the App Store, whether it's the Google App Store or the App Store, the Mac App Store, and type in BMI Calculator. And don't be surprised if you find 100 of them in one or both. All right? And many of them are going to be free, because people like this, they go out there and they create something and they put it out there. All right? And sometimes they do that just to get a following or whatever. All right? But the point is, what will typically differentiate one from another is how easy it is to use. And again, if I just ran it and the first thing I did was go and put nothing in there, and it came back and the thing blew up, I wouldn't have a real good feeling about the app. Right? So those are all things, again, ideally at least, those are all things that you're thinking about or have thought about. So I put that first responder in there. I'm going to save it again, and I'm going to run it. Stop my simulator. And run it again. Okay. Any questions on any of this? And I don't know, hopefully you found this pretty easy after doing the other one. This is harder than the other one just because of the fact when you have to set up your outlets and your actions. Other than that, it's the same program. I usually always ask this. I'm not even going to this semester, but I usually ask people after a while, which one do you like better? Do you like Android better, or do you like working with Swift better? Sometimes I don't like to ask, because I'm afraid the answer is going to be no and no.
You'll be disappointed.
I think they're both unique.
Actually, I kind of think Swift is probably a little easier
I
to
think
work
so
with.
too, man.
I agree, and I think that's one of the reasons. I don't think that, I personally don't think that Apple realized what a goldmine they had when they created this. Because for them to say that within a year or two, you're going to be able to develop Android, Windows apps, and Mac apps,
that's nice because if I'm still here teaching this, we'll be able to use Swift for everything. You know, and then they'll become Swift experts. They still want to go back, you know, they'll still have a semester and a half of Java, but if they want, they'll be able to write these in both, which is really nice. And I'm sure there's going to be some real nice bridging tool where you're going to be able to do, you know, then the next thing we need is, well, we need the device, we need a bridge on the device. So in other words, I want to be able to use my Mac and I want to be able to have an Android emulator in it, or I want to be able to use my tablet and have a Mac emulator in it. All right, that's going to come. It is, just because people will demand it for no other reason.
But personally, I like Android.
All right, so here it is. Let's see if that clear button works now. So we'll just put in bogus numbers here. 66, 222, calculate, boom, clear, and notice with the first responder, it already brought my keyboard back up for me. All right, that's just the kind of thing that you got to be thinking of. Think of the end user all the time. You're doing it for them. Why? Because they're the one paying for it, right? Especially if you're going to create some kind of an app that you like, and you put that out on the App Store, and you're charging for it. All right. This guy I know, I took a week-long class like 4 years ago at Madison. That's the only training other than Udemy and watching videos that I've ever had on this stuff. And this guy, what we did in there was we built a grocery store app. And he actually put it out there on the system. And I think it was $1.99, and he'd sold a few hundred of them.
Did you try just clicking the calculate button without?
No, I will right now. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, blows up. Unexpectedly found nil while unwrapping. So I think I would have to put probably maybe that. I don't know if that's going to fix it or not, but I'll try that to start with. So John just mentioned, although we checked, I think that either we're going to need that or something else there. Okay?
Then you will have it ready for tonight when I get home.
The video? The video will be ready, yeah.
Okay, thanks. Okay, then I'll watch it.
Of course, if this breaks, then what I can do is I can check first. Instead of checking for not nil, I can check for nil. And if it's equal to nil, I can for my status, I could just set that equal to, you know, you must enter a value for this or something like that. There's a lot of ways that we could at least hopefully fix this. Doesn't seem to like that. So I'm not sure exactly what the problem is. It's pretty damn close. Let's put it that way. All right.